For 20 years, Karen's HOA treated 1,000 acres like it belonged to them. They built roads, installed signs, and even planned future development. Then I discovered something nobody in the HOA had bothered to check. The land they were using was mine. It started with one strange property record. The parcel number looked familiar, so I asked the county to pull the original deed. The clerk spread the old map across the desk. Then he pointed to a boundary I had never seen before. The original deed described the entire 1,000 acres in detail. The legal description had never been transferred to the HOA. The county record showed no sale, no easement, and no ownership change. I realized the HOA had been operating on land they didn't own. I hired a licensed surveyor to verify the boundaries. The results were even more shocking than the county records. The HOA's roads, landscaping plans, and future construction zone crossed directly onto my property. 20 years of development had happened on land that wasn't theirs. The survey crew marked the actual property line. Red flags appeared along the road the HOA had used for decades. Residents immediately started asking what was happening. Karen pushed through the crowd, demanding that everyone stop. Karen claimed the HOA had been there for 20 years. She said that was proof the land belonged to the community. I held up the recorded deed. 20 years of using something doesn't change who owns it. The surveyors continued marking every corner of the property. Roads, trails, landscaping areas, and undeveloped sections were all measured. By afternoon, the boundary was impossible to ignore. The HOA had built far beyond its legal property line. The HOA called an emergency meeting. Karen insisted their old records proved everything was legitimate. I placed the county-certified survey on the table. The room went silent when everyone saw exactly where their neighborhood ended. Karen finally asked a question she should have asked 20 years earlier. "Are you saying this entire parcel is yours?" I looked at the certified deed and nodded. "I'm not saying it. The county records are." For 20 years, they thought they controlled this land. They never checked the most important document of all, the deed. Now the property line was officially marked. And for the first time, the HOA had to answer to the actual owner. I finally decided to investigate exactly how far my property lines really extended. The surveyor placed markers across land the HOA had treated as its own for 20 years. Every measurement pointed to the same shocking truth. Their entire development was sitting on property my family legally owned. I pulled out every deed and survey document my family had preserved. The oldest records showed the same boundary lines I had just confirmed. There was no transfer, sale, or easement giving the HOA ownership. They had simply been using my land as if nobody would ever check. I went straight to the county records office to verify everything officially. The clerk pulled the original documents and compared them with the HOA's filings. Nothing had changed the ownership of my 1,000 acres. For the first time, I knew I had undeniable proof. When I confronted the HOA president, she laughed and told me they had owned the land for decades. I calmly placed a certified deed in front of her. Her smile disappeared when she saw the county seal. Then she demanded to know who had given me permission to investigate. The HOA called an emergency board meeting and tried to defend their claim. Their attorney presented an old development map as if it settled everything. Then my surveyor showed the original county boundary records. The room went completely silent. The official survey crew returned to mark the entire boundary. Stake after stake revealed just how much land the HOA had been occupying. Roads, landscaping, walking paths, and community improvements crossed my property line. 20 years of assumptions were disappearing in a single afternoon. The HOA finally realized this wasn't going away with another warning letter. They hired attorneys and took the dispute into court. I arrived carrying every deed, survey, and county record we had collected. This time, I wasn't arguing about opinions. I was bringing evidence. The judge carefully examined the original deed and the modern survey. Then he compared them with the HOA's documents. The boundary lines matched my family's records exactly. The judge finally asked the HOA attorney one question they couldn't answer. The judge ruled that the 1,000 acres were never legally transferred to the HOA. Their 20-year claim had no valid deed behind it. The land belonged to me, and the court ordered the records corrected. The HOA had just lost property they thought they owned. After 20 years, my land was finally recognized as mine again. The HOA had built around it, planned around it, and assumed nobody would challenge them. But ownership doesn't disappear just because people stop checking the records. And now, every acre of that 1,000-acre ranch had my name on the deed.